There's this common myth in the health and fitness space where people think they either have to lose fat or they have to build muscle. They have to pick one or the other. Which path are you going to go down? And when you go down these individual paths, you realize that when you are trying to lose fat, most people end up crash dieting. They're barely eating anything. And then they realize, wow, this kind of sucks. This isn't very sustainable. And then they end up quitting. On the flip side of it, with the building muscle part, people will have an excuse to stuff their faces. They'll go to the gym 6 days a week. They realize, wow, my body kind of hurts. I'm actually fatter than before. And then they quit as well. So the problem here is that no matter which route you are choosing, you end up quitting because you're not doing something that is sustainable. You're not doing something that is realistic. And most importantly, you don't realize that you can actually do both at the same time. How the heck can we do both at the same time? Well, here's the strategy behind this. This is exactly what I tell my clients as well. When you are building muscle, you going to the gym, you working out, exercising, you're applying some sort of mechanical tension to your muscles. You're making sure they are getting some sort of stimulus off of the movement patterns and off of the pump that you're getting from the workouts. But here's the thing. You can't just go into the gym, hit a few curls, do a few, shoulder presses, some shrugs, and then just call it a day. You actually have to push yourself. You have to push yourself past the point of where you think you have to push yourself. A lot of people will say, oh, yep, I pushed until failure. And in reality, failure to them, mechanical failure, is just, oh, yeah, I feel that burn on that push down. I think that's it. That's why I'm calling it. I feel the burn and I'm good. No, it's when you physically cannot keep good form and get another rep with the weight. So going in, actually pushing with some sort of intent in the gym, because most people nowadays don't actually train for real. They kind of just go in the gym and do this what's called LARPing, live action role play. They'll pretend like they enjoy working out and they pretend like they're lifting weights, but really they're just screwing around and just showing up essentially. So when you're going in the gym, you actually want to apply this mechanical tension. You actually want to pay attention to the exercises you're doing. Make sure you have a variety of movement patterns. Make sure you're working more than just your chest and your shoulders and arms. You want to make sure you're actually hitting all these muscle groups, because as you develop muscle in different parts of your body, it's going to actually make that fat process, that fat losing process, so much easier. So as you're pushing yourself, you want to make sure you're getting a sufficient amount of protein in as well. Most people know protein is really good for building muscle. This kind of lays that foundation for that growth and development as you are applying mechanical tension and as you are recovering from the workouts. Remember, your muscles aren't necessarily built in the middle of the workout. That's actually when they're weakest. They're being torn down in the middle of the workout, and they're being built back up when you're relaxing, when you're resting, when you're recovering, sleeping after those workouts. So when it comes to losing fat along with that building muscle, what's exactly the routine here? So first and foremost, you have to be in some sort of caloric deficit, meaning you have to be eating less than what you probably are right now, especially if you're 25% body fat, 30% body fat. I think the typical American now is like 30% body fat, 35% body fat, and it's approximately 70% of America at this point. As far as those numbers go, you'll realize that depending on your starting point, you will yield a slightly different result. So if you are 30% body fat and you are going to the gym consistently and you're in a deficit, you should actually start to see results sooner. But it might not look like the same results that you want, because you'll notice that when you start losing weight and you are still at a high body fat percentage, you are just going to look like a smaller version of what you did previously. So now you don't look as filled out or bulky. If anything, you look now like a skinnier, almost like possibly even a skinny fat, but you're like, oh, I just look tinier and I don't look like I'm strong anymore. And I notice that happens with a ton of the guys that I train too, is they say, hey, am I losing muscle being in this deficit? It's like, no, you're actually building muscle, but because you're also in a deficit, we just can't see the muscular definition yet. And that's where you think just because you're getting smaller, you're losing the muscle. But if you have a sufficient amount of protein, you have a sufficient amount of calories while still being in a deficit, you're getting your sleep and you're still working out, you are still building plenty of muscle in that process. And with the fat loss side of things, being in that deficit, you have to be in something sustainable. 200 to 500 calories is completely reasonable being in a deficit. Being in a 1,000 calorie deficit, yeah, you're going to lose the weight pretty darn fast, but it's also not going to be something that you can hang in there for very long. And so as you are losing this weight, you'll start to realize, and as you think like, oh my gosh, like, am I losing this muscle? What's going on here? You have plenty of fat on you to still utilize as energy. Your body is going to tap into those fat stores. First, you tap into the carbs. That's your short-term energy. Then you tap into the fat, more of your long-term energy. So being in that deficit, you are still using that fat to actually help build the muscle and not necessarily directly convert it to muscle, but make sure that is used as energy. So when you do push in the gym, now you can convert that to muscle. Another big thing that people hear when it comes to building muscle is that their mind immediately jumps to bulking. You don't necessarily need to bulk. Actually, most people should never probably bulk until way later. If you're above, I'd say even 12-15% body fat, you don't even need to think or consider packing on size, eating extra food yet. If you can't see a visible 6-pack or even a 4-pack, if you don't have veins crawling up your arms, you do not need to necessarily start a bulk. I have a whole nother video on that. You could check that out after this. Just posted that recently. But you don't need to bulk. Most people will never actually need to bulk. So many of my clients come to me thinking, hey, I know I'm like, I have this skinny fat kind of going on. I figured if I put on size first, I'll fill out, I'll look so much better. No, you actually leaning out, shredding a bunch of body fat, revealing all of that muscle will help you look better and bigger. And you will also be more defined. And that definition, that muscular definition, creates this optical illusion of allowing you to look bigger and better just because you're more cut, even if you're 20 pounds down. So no bulking unless you're beneath 12% body fat. When it comes to pushing hard in the gym as well, a lot of my clients, they'll send me form videos. They'll send me their sets. I want to make sure they're doing things properly. They're actually using the proper intensity. I've had clients in the past say like, oh yeah, I feel a little bit of a burn, so I kind of stopped my set. It's like, no, that is when you should be pushing for your sets. You should be pushing harder during your sets. You should be pushing to, like I said, mechanical failure, or at least darn near close to it. But a lot of people think that failure is, let's say they can actually get 10 reps is actual failure for them at a certain weight. And they end up getting 6 reps. Oh yeah, that felt like failure to me. Like, I don't think I could have done one more. It's like, no, your brain is weak. Your body is weak. You have to train your brain to overcome your body and actually push yourself. When I see a lot of these form videos, I can tell. I'm like, dang, bro, you could have done probably like 6 more of those. You look like you kind of just, you're doing some curls and then you just immediately go grab the phone, pick it up, and like it's nothing. It's not pushing. You want to actually push yourself. A lot of people will just go through the motions, and you don't want to just go through the motions. I noticed that there's been a few times in the past where I would work out with clients who were local in person when I worked in the gym. And I realized that they wouldn't push nearly as hard, but when I worked out with them, they saw that intensity, they saw the level at which it's safe to push to, including some of my clients in their 60s and 70s that will work out with me. And then they push themselves. They take it to a whole nother level. They don't realize they have that mental toughness in them until someone breaks that wall down for them. Because if I'm just standing there saying, hey, you could have done 3 more, it's a little bit different than me actually doing 3 more. They see me pushing those extra 3 reps, how hard I'm making all the ugly faces, the grimacing, maybe like a tiny bit of like exhale and breathing out. And they see that, and then they realize, oh my gosh, I could actually push myself so much harder. And I just didn't realize that I could do that. And so you got to break down those mental walls. Every wall you break down is another step in the right direction, but you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to push yourself and get comfortable with that, because it's very uncomfortable at first. Another big problem that people will do is they'll do this like intermittent fasting thing, and they think, oh yeah, well, if I work out hungry, I'm going to be burning more calories because I'm fasted, and it just, I feel a little bit lighter headed. I think I did more work during it. No, that's actually completely opposite. You are trying to build the body that you are trying to get lean into. You're trying to lean into this body. You're trying to build this body. You are not necessarily meant to starve yourself and then go do some crazy physical, vigorous activity in the gym. Your goal is to fuel yourself properly, proper nutrition, some sort of simple carbs, something fast acting that can get into your bloodstream quick, gives you that energy to push really hard during the gym. And then you want to fuel yourself after the gym. Use your protein for your recovery. Eat some complex carbs like sweet potatoes to hold you off for a while, keep you satiated afterward. And then that way you're not starving yourself, because why would you not put anything into your body, do a task that requires you to be up here, but you're way down here? You're not being efficient with it. I tell all my clients this: I don't want you starving yourself. I never want you starving yourself. I want you to fuel yourself to push harder so you never have to starve yourself and you can actually build the body that you want. Huge common misconception. You're not building muscle with that. You are already in your deficit. Stick to your deficit, keep your protein high, and be strategic with it. Another good hack to help lose this fat as well is increasing your activity levels, just in general. Pace your living room. I say it all the time. Put a YouTube video on, pace your room, walk back and forth. If you have a backyard, if you have a front yard, walk around in there. If it's, in the morning, at night, it's hot outside right now, it's in the middle of summer, do what you need to do. But there's so many ways that you could just pace back and forth without it actually impairing negatively on your life. If anything, it'll be a good mental detox for you to just get that pacing in. Do other things like take some sort of caffeine. I know a lot of people are probably too addicted to caffeine nowadays, but even just some basic black coffee, just something very light as a caffeine. It could be an appetite suppressant for you. It can help hold your hunger off later. It gives you the energy to perform better in the gym, at work. So your brain is stimulating, maybe you're moving, you have more activity, you have more energy to perform and utilize throughout the day. So now you're actually getting sleepier at night because you use so much energy during the day. And now this knocks you out. Now you can get better recovery. So it has a huge cyclical effect where as you are losing fat, putting all that extra effort in, fueling yourself properly, it leads you to better workouts, leads you to more productivity, you're expending more energy, and as you expend more energy, you get more tired. That exhaustion leads to recovery, and now you have a better day tomorrow because you can expend more energy, and now you fuel yourself. So it's just a huge cycle of you being able to create this positive feedback loop in which it will help best benefit you losing fat, shredding fat, and building muscle in the process. Another thing with the building muscle is that you realize what's called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. What this is if we literally cloned you, we took one clone of you, and then we took another clone and took away 10 pounds of muscle. Which one is going to be burning more calories just by living? And the answer is the one with more muscle. Even if we cloned you and added 20 pounds of muscle to it, the 20-pound clone would be burning more calories, literally just breathing, literally just living, just existing, because that muscle requires more calories. And as you're feeding those muscles calories, you are burning through them a lot faster as well, because they need that energy, they need that fuel. Whereas fat is just kind of sitting on you. You're not really doing a whole lot with it. That's also why muscle is so much more dense than fat. It takes up space. It doesn't use as much. You don't need it. So as you increase muscle, you'll realize it's even easier to shred this fat and to lose this fat, which is why we want to keep doing both at the same time. We want to make sure we're balancing those out. And with the muscle comes longevity, comes an increase in your bone mineral density. I know a lot of people, especially people under the age of 50, don't necessarily always understand that stronger bones equal strong muscles. And when you have those in tandem, you are in a much better position to have a better life for a longer period of time. Your quality of life increases drastically. Your chance of falling and breaking a hip decrease drastically. Your chance of getting in a car accident and surviving are a lot higher. Your chance of enjoying time with your kids and actually being here for your grandkids are a lot higher. And all that because you have muscle on you. You practice these movement patterns. You put your body through this rigorous exercise, this intense system that allows you to do what you need to do. For example, my mom had cancer a few years back. Her bone mineral density completely plummeted when she had cancer. And so one of the doctor's orders were, hey, you need to increase that. How can we increase your bone mineral density? Because now you have osteoporosis, arthritis, you have all these challenges going on as you age, at the age of, I think she was 60 at the time. And now she's been working out consistently. She's been using barbells. She's been using dumbbells. She's been going to the gym often. She's been actually pushing herself and doing a variety of movement patterns. And now her bone mineral density is up like some ridiculous amount, like 30-something% since then. That's an extreme amount. That is a huge amount. And that longevity has just upped her quality of life. It's just boosted her quality of life and now given her a better time so she can go about day-to-day life easier. When it comes to baking stuff or when it comes to doing chores around the house, she has an easier time doing all of that. And same thing with a lot of my clients. They realize that as you develop muscle and as you start to lose fat, you have more energy. You are more productive throughout the day. You are doing more work. You are doing better work, and you are having more fun because now you have the energy to dispose of with that fun and with those social events. You can build muscle, you can lose fat, you can do these at the exact same time. You do not have to pick and choose either one or the other. If you are trying to build muscle and lose fat, there's a one-on-one coaching application in my description down below. Feel free to fill that out. I'll reach out to you. I'll see if I can help you. Let me know what's going on. Let me know where your starting point is at so I can best guide you in the proper direction. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.